This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages. Right here on #WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Bad Movie Club. That's our end card. Salutations! I am Camerai, and I am conversation ready. Even if my green screen's not. Fuck it all. Fuck it all. I'll take a quick stab at fixing it, and then we will move on, because why not? A little peek behind the curtain there. Whatever. We get together every week to talk about a bad movie, or at least a movie that any respectable club wouldn't let me talk about. We are currently going through our Kevin Smith run, and while I don't find him to be a bad writer-director, while I don't find his movies to be bad, they're certainly not necessarily at the top of everyone's list. But I do happen to find that Chasing Amy is one of his best movies. It's definitely the most powerful. It's really funny to see him take his dick and fart type humor and go into a drama or dramedy back before the term was really coined. But ultimately, it really is a comedy. I just want the title in it. There we are. Oh, now I'm blocking faces. Oh, I was so much better when I started than when I moved this. See, if we can't have a bad movie, we're gonna make a bad movie podcast. There we go. I gotta fix that. I just can't do it anymore. Can't do it anymore. Okay, so the movie is about a guy who wants to be with a lesbian, and the movie is consistent in that presentation that she is a lesbian that ends up dating a guy. And it's partly the power of love being stronger than any rationality. And it's partly that people find each other and just common random happenstance. And they like things about each other, and then that leads places, and maybe what she didn't find in guys back when, anymore. Maybe she found in him. And I'm not saying she was tired of girls. That's obviously not true. It's just whatever it is. The world is more fluid than you realize sometimes. There's just too many factors. You can't predict everything. The people who can, they're not human. I'm going to take us through this at a brisk pace, but there are certain talking points I do want to jump down, and that's where I actually ended up quoting parts of the movie in my notes. What is funny, though, it's like Kevin Smith is a noted comic book fan, and up to this point, he had, I think, actually written or rewritten a script for Superman because of the comments in Mallrats dealing with him, like, apparently he really knows comic books. Or I think the people more likely heard from someone that he probably really knew comic books from this movie he made. And not that the people given the jobs actually watch movies in general, let alone Mallrats. And if you don't realize that, these fucking executives that make all the decisions, they probably don't make movies. What they do is they listen to news and business and do blow off hookers' asses. So, if we must, we actually, like, there's a lot of moving camera stuff to, like, kind of, like, prove that he can actually do it, because there's a lot of criticism early on about his work, about how he doesn't move the camera well. And they did it in Mallrats. And I don't know if he did it well, but he did it, and it was decent. It just wasn't wowing. But we started a convention, and it's like a couple dudes giving autographs, and we don't get a very good introduction to Holden and Banky and all this. I think their names might have popped up somewhere, and I may have been distracted. But it doesn't, like, the movie doesn't go, hey, I'm Banky, hey, I'm Holden, or go like, Holden, what, Banky? Nothing like that. Would have been very simple to put in. but they're signing autographs, or they're signing and autographing work. I don't know if those two things are really different, but for a comic book called Blunt Man and Chronic, who looks surprisingly like Jay and Silent Bob, which you find out later, it's because that's where their likeness comes from. You'll see in later movies that this character montage comes back. In fact, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is all about the movie of Jay and Silent Bob being made, and in this movie, the comic is long-standing, and they're talking about doing a Saturday morning cartoon, essentially. So Blunt Man and Chronic are cross-medium. I'm really surprised we don't have an actual Blunt Man and Chronic cartoon out yet, and it may be Kevin's waiting for later on in life when he has to do even less for his job, and just is like he writes some pages and hands it to a guy, and then they go and animate everything. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. So the colorist, the inker, which I actually think is a legitimate job. I think that's actually very seriously a very important job. Just sketching art is not always enough, though it can be if the story is good enough, but it definitely adds invaluable quality to a work once you color it. So shout out to all of them tracers, but he gets in a fight over being called a tracer with a supposed fan. I don't even know why that guy was there. He's like, he doesn't understand comics or people or anything. It's like he's just there to cause trouble. I really don't get why he was there. But so security ends up hauling that guy out, which is actually a little bit lucky because they are due at a panel, but not to speak, to watch and heckle, apparently. I really thought it was an interesting way to go about it. I'm going to try one quick thing here, because how fuzzy my fingers are is bothering me. Oh, that's fucking horrible. How about that? Does that work? It doesn't matter. I don't know. It's so weird that it can be different in every profile, and it's just a matter of which shade of green I happen to pick up. So there's a black guy talking up there about black power, black rage, blah 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 blah. I'm not saying that in the realm of disrespect, just that's really the attitude that comes up on later on, because he's an artist acting a part just to get by. So he's bitching about how there's not enough black people in the entertainment world. And Ben Affleck's character, Holden, stands up and is like, oh, bullshit. Lando Calrissian got to fly the Millennium Falcon. Bullshit, fallacy, whatever. And then he goes on this long rant about how Star Wars is all about how black people want to be white. And then Banky stands up and goes, well, isn't that true? And quite frankly, it's an absurd fucking thing that anyone would ever fucking say. And truly racist. I'm just going to give you that. But that was kind of the point. And so it provokes Hooper, who pulls out a gun, yells black rage, and shoots Banky. While Holden just sits there like super dead inside. So it's all like a publicity stunt for him to put on this persona of being a strong-willed black man in a white industry where like he doesn't take shit or whatever, and his publicist is like insisting on this image so that they can sell the book, because comic books, especially back then, is a fucked up industry. If you ever get a chance, investigate it. I can't go on about it here, but I probably will later, because I'll forget I said that. But of course, Holden's such a blind character in all this. I don't know what he's supposed to represent, but like it's obviously like a panel for alternative artists that they're at. So this girl shows up that Hooper knows that Holden's like, oh, cute girl. So excuse me, man. So they all go out for drinks or whatever, because that's what you do, I guess. And they get in this wonderful conversation about Archie, where Hoover maintains that Jughead, his queen wearing crown wearing motherfucker ass, is Archie banging, whereas Archie's trying to hold out between where Banky argues that Archie's trying to hold out between Betty and Veronica so he can get them both in a three-way, and then they go get a buttload of Archie comics from the convention to try to like piece this together and like prove it one way or the other, and they come back later and Hooper's trying to argue with Peggy. It's so... I don't know why I like it so much. It's so funny to me that Archie's fucking Mr. Weatherby. And it's like, I guess if you have that mindset of like, men are attractive as a man, where that gay mindset, like, you can look at anything and read between the lines a little bit. You just write your own porno into anything. Hell, it happens every day. I'm not saying like I think of like how to write pornos out of my shows. I'm just sexual or a connotation comes up and I'm like, yeah, yes please. And I know there's other people who take it to another extreme, so it's really funny to think about things like that. Excuse me. Whoa, whoa. So. While they're off doing that stupid shit, like, Holden and Alyssa are having a shared moment, playing darts and shooting the shit, finding out that they grew up, like, 2 towns away from each other, and they're like, hey, they're, without saying anything, hey, I'm really into you, you're really into me, we should definitely hang out more, it's this... There's a lot of like good conversation pieces in there, but it's very short, and it leads into an invitation to go to a bar or a club or whatever, like a couple nights later. So Alyssa invites Holden, or has Hooper invite Holden. Of course, Banky comes with him because Banky's in love with Holden. Let's just spoil that right there. I don't think there's any way to argue around that, especially given the end of the movie. But Banky's such a fucking idiot, a fucking potzer. He's like, there's a lot of chicks in this place, and it's a gay club. It's very obviously a gay club. But neither one of them notice it, because Holden's dumbass is just focused on, like, gonna get some pussy. So, like, even to the point where Alyssa gets up on stage, is actively, singing and looking at somebody else, which is usually pretty obvious. And after the song, the girl rushes her and they start making out. And they go and make out more and more until Holden's obviously being a little baby about it. And then Banky's just into it, and he's up for conversation now that like she's interesting, especially because she's now unavailable to Holden because she's gay. He doesn't even fathom that Holden would continue to pursue her, being gay. So they actually have like this really nice bonding moment. So you get a view of like how good friends a man and a woman could be, for one, when like they have common interests and goals about things and stories. Like and these two characters that end up hating each other, how well they can do this. He's so intricate on his character work. It's amazing. And of course, there's the girl, she was making out Kim, she's talking about fucking her, and there's this nice long conversation about like, what is it to fuck? And my permission? Do guys or like do you guys have my permission to fuck each other? So it's all about whether or not like you have a dong or penetrative sex. And I get that was a standard. And like even when I was younger though, and like when this movie was around, like I never really got that. I'm like, why is that sex or when not sex? It's like. I think it comes down to that mentality of like hand job versus sex or whatever. When you're a guy, it's like, oh, did you bang her? Or like, did you guys have sex? It's like, well, she jerked me off. It's like, didn't even get in, dude. It's that boys club mentality of like conquering, and that's fine and well and all. And I'm not gonna say like I haven't felt that way in the moment, but it can be more than that, and that's kind of Alyssa's point. I think she is kind of what you would call woke, like back before there was the term, and that's just kind of how a lot of it was. But as she goes on later on in the movie, like it creates, as you become that type of person looking for more people like you, because it was far and few between then. It's probably still pretty hard to find certain things, except for the peer pressure of it all, like where it's like, oh, you're gay, I'm gay, we should hang out, like solidarity. And it's a weird concept to me, that because you have this one thing in common, that you should really care about each other. And if it wasn't for like people getting like stabbed and shot and beaten and all these horrible things for that, like I would argue more, like, but let's respect each other as people first, and then whatever. And then and if you go with that mentality, then it becomes a little weird. But and I'm not saying don't have things, enjoy life, be nice to one another. Oh yeah, so they, like, part of their conversation and all that is talking about cunnilingus. Like he says, like, he has this thing about not going down on girls anymore, and there's the whole smell argument. And it's like they never give you any clues, and like Alyssa actually backs them up, and like Banky's the idiot character. What Banky says is actually supposed to be wrong 90% of the time. So this is like one of the weird things where Holden's being the idiot character and Banky's actually onto something. It's like communication during sex, something that intimate and you're and possibly you're insecure about, is a wonderful thing. It's a good thing to have between partners, in relationships at all, like, so that you can both get what you want out of it, even if it's just their company or orgasm. If we're skipping our head, there's Banky almost gives it away during like right before the business meeting. I was laughing so hard at this. It's like I never got lesbians. It's like all any lesbian needs is just a good deep dick, and like I get gay guys, it's like they need dick. And if you haven't caught on by this point in the movie, it's like, well, that guy's gay. I'm not saying like you can't have that opinion and not be gay, but like if you look at Becky during the movie, it's like, oh yeah. It's a huge indicator. It might yield a false positive or two. So Alyssa pursues a relationship, which I found interesting because, like, she was actively going after another girl, like when they were hanging out at the club, and then she comes back by his place to give him shit about it, because she actually really likes him. So like she's trying to open the channels of communication because he had shut down, and like I was like, and that was kind of the point of the cunnilingus conversation. It's about having communication between two people to enforce a relationship. In order to get to that moment and really enjoy being with somebody, you've got to put in a little bit of work and communicate and talk, and so they actually talk about talking, and they talk about identity and like why is he straight, why is she gay, like they both kind of have the opinion of girls feel right. So the point there, which is very subtle, is that Holden feels right to her right now in this moment, whereas he's just pursuing another girl who's a little bit interesting because of these other factors. Like she's exploring something that is a paradigm shift from the paradigm shift she's already in, and fuck you, internet, I don't know what to do with you. So, where was I? Oh yeah, so like, they're gonna go to another convention. The Banky with just a duffel bag full of porno, I don't know what the fuck, honestly, what was going through Kevin's mind when he wrote that area. But like, Holden goes to call Alyssa, like in the proceeds of trying to abandon Banky, but like Banky's reading horse porn to some little kid when he comes back. It's like, it's obviously he can't be trusted on his own, and like, so to show like Holden making the mistake, Banky goes off on this thing on his own. But of course, is that what it was? Oh no, okay, so there's a whole montage about, wait, is that right? Yeah, so their whole they go skee ball, and there's this whole montage about them hanging out together, and Banky mentions the Little Pink Mafia throwing her out. And there's this really nice moment during the montage where like Alyssa just can't get this lighter to light because she smokes, and Holden just grabs it from her, hits the thing, lights her cigarette, gives it back, and goes back to what he's doing like almost seamlessly. And she's just this nice moment where she's smiling at him, going like, "Okay, this got me something in my life that, like maybe I needed." Let's see. Sorry, I got a kitty here. So all this ends up... Okay, so this goes to the crossroads conversation, where Banky's confronting Holden about how he's being changed. She's brainwashing him. And it's not that he's being brainwashed, it's just that he's changing and adapting to a situation, and the situation is going to evolve to not include Banky, so Banky feels threatened, so he feels the need to lash out and attack Alyssa and Holden in the world, because he can't be happy the way he is, like, being in denial and all that. But there's the crossroads thing, where the short version of it is that there's a four-lane intersection with a $100 bill in the middle. Who gets it first? Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, a man-hating dyke, or a lipstick lesbian? A male-friendly lipstick lesbian. And the answer is the man-hating dyke, because the rest are figments of your fucking imagination. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm saying that's what the joke was. Calm down. It's fine. So, like, Banky gets so caught up into this. Not only is he making this stupid, horrible joke, but he is... he basically almost throws down an ultimatum. He's like, he theorizes like, what if it comes down to her and me? It's like Holden's like, let it go, and he does this a couple times in the movie. And Banky doesn't. He pushes because he cares that much about Holden, honestly. And then Holden says he's in love with her. And then eventually, a few scenes later, after some bullshit happens, he tells her. She gets out and they have this cool argument in the rain. I don't know what it is about like scenes in movies with like rain coming down. It just feels really special because you honestly can't get that exact scene ever again. Like, even it doesn't matter how many times you reshoot it in the rain, you can't get those exact same shots. But like, they're just being stupid in the street. She eventually tells him to fuck off. He does. And then she chases him down, and they make out, and then break the couch with bangty bangs, which leaves Banky to walk in on it, or on the aftermath. So that skips ahead a little bit. And then Banky, I don't know why he's just written the way he is, but like it's beautiful in a horribly disturbing way that I really like. But he's like down the street and he's not watching like some Catholic schoolgirls. Now, granted too, they're like young, but he's not like jerking it to them. He's just kind of reminiscent on life, like what's happening, the future. And in order to know where the future is going, you have to like reflect on your past. You have to know where you are now. And he's mentioning that he wants a different life by stating that like, I should have been with more Catholic schoolgirls. As of yet, I don't have any. And then she unzipped her jumper stories. It's wishing for a better life in a very weird and sexual way, but the way he actually wants his life to be is in a weird and sexual way, just with Holden. So it's like these subtle jabs at his own identity throughout the movie. It's kind of interesting. But they talk about things, and like, Banky makes this very valid point about everybody having agendas. And Holden calls him out and he's like, what's your fucking agenda? He's like, to watch your back, to make sure that all this time we invested doesn't go to waste. And I'm not talking about the comic. I'm paraphrasing, but like, that's what it is, because he wants to make sure that him and Holden last. Whether it's really fucking sweet now that I think about it, because like, he's not trying to get sex out of Holden. It's almost the opposite, or it's got a parallel to it, but like it's I don't know. In some ways, it's almost the opposite of Holden and Alyssa. It's like where Holden is like, oh, there's a girl that I want to bang for the rest of my life. Banky just wants to be in his company for the rest of his life. Like, I don't know if Banky would ever just be like if Holden hadn't jolted him, it would be like, you know what, we've been together, what, 30 years, we need to bang. I don't think that a conversation would ever come up. I think he'd just be like, dude, let's play some video games. Until maybe, like, the pent-up frustration just made him pounce. He's like, I don't know. And then, meanwhile, Alyssa brings up points, or finds points that she brought up during the Rain conversation come to reality. It's like, she called up some of her lesbian friends. They're lesbians, they're her friends. Just, it's what it was. To hang out and stuff envelopes for some fucking event she was gonna have. I don't remember. And so they were gonna hang out and stuff envelopes, and they start talking. And Alyssa feels the need to express, as you should, that she's in love with someone, but she plays the pronoun game, and all the lesbians get depressed because she's straight again. And again, the movie itself pretty much maintains that, like, she's a gay woman who likes a man, and just right there, it's why we don't need to identify. Stupid shit. It's like, you do this, you don't do this, you want this right now, you don't want that right now. It's fine. It's fine. So back at the loft, Banky throws finger cuffs in Holden's face. It's a story about how Alyssa had sex with two guys at once upon a time, and Holden can't handle it, so he refuses it. He talks to Hooper at the music store about it because the gay guy is the guy to go to for these sort of things. And Hooper actually gives him really good advice that he doesn't actually listen to. It's like, he listened to the parts he wanted to listen to, and so he takes her to a hockey game and then gives her, like, this weird passive-aggressive like, cross-examination is what they call it in the movie. It's more like an interrogation. And so, like, he kind of slowly pulls the pieces of the story out from her, and then he's like, oh, then what'd you do? And she yells at him in the middle of the thing. It's like, blew on my coat, he fucked me. Sorry, it's not the act of it that's funny. You guys, your friend, and your other friend. I don't care. But the way she screams it is hilarious to me. And it's a really palpable moment too, so it's really offsetting that it's that funny. But even the guy sitting next to him is like, even I knew what you were fucking talking about. So it's like you're trying to piece together, is he part of the same tri-state area? Did he just piece together what was happening from the clues Holden was laying? Like, what was the deal? What was the story behind that guy? So it's so funny. And we've got the parking lot. Sorry, I wanted to compliment how well the hockey game was shot. I'm just telling all good stuff about this movie. Honestly, up to this point, there's fucking very little action of any kind. All the intensity comes from, like, conversation that, like, one would have with a significant other that you feel intensely with. There's very little of this. The shots are generally sufficient, but not great, minus a few things that I just personally like. And this parking lot scene is actually shot really well. I don't know what happened, but, like, the hockey game shot pretty well, and the parking lot scene's shot really well. But take what you will from it. It is a Kevin Smith movie. The it's going to be funny and better dialogue than some movies, but it's not gonna. There's no Iron Man. But, like, up to this point, like, they're having, like, this really stupid fucking argument, and he's showing his naivety, his lack of experience, and I'm sure it's by design, in the conversation where, like, he can't handle that she's had all this experience with other guys. Like, he thought he was the best guy she'd ever been with. He thought, like, he was the only guy, the only one who's ever stuck his flag in there, and then the mountain, or he walks around the mountain, and there's, like, 50 other flags back there, and he's like, oh shit, I thought this was mine. Whose is it? Oh, which one was the best country? It's ridiculous. And I've got some notes here, and it's just indicative of like a cultural society of not expecting women to enjoy sex, because there's the whole point where he's like, they fucking used you, because his mentality is that sex is about the guy. The guy is the one doing the sex, and the girls are there because he doesn't have the ability or experience to comprehend that the girl would have a part in it. And that is a problem that a lot of people fucking have. And it's like, no, it's there too. I can't understand what it is for a girl to come or get off, and like I can't understand like why this as opposed to this feels good, maybe because I don't have those parts, but I do understand the facts of it, and I understand that I like that person, and I want them to feel good and have benefits of whatever kind. So like, I know that that's what I kind of want to do. And that goes to other aspects of the relationship as well. Let's see. For some fucking reason, he wants them to be a normal couple, and he thinks that can't happen. He's a fucking idiot. I hate this guy. I hate him so much. I can't believe like two people want him this bad that like it causes all these problems. It's a very much a parallel of Clerks in the first movie, where it's two fucking one decent girl and this other idiot both want this loser ass guy. But I don't know. So this is based off with the best dick she's ever had, or the only one. I already covered that. So we go to the loft. Holden's crying on the couch. Banky literally doesn't know how to help because he doesn't want to help. He understands that Holden's hurting. He understands that he wants Holden not to hurt, but he wants to be enough for Holden so that him being there makes Holden not hurt. And being that Holden doesn't want to talk about it, that's the only play Banky really has, is to just be there and be an option if Holden does want to talk. And I think they're watching TV anyway, so like it's not like Banky's just bored out of his mind. But like whatever Banky wanted, it never was for Holden to be hurt. So like it's a very sweet relationship when it comes down to it. Okay, but here comes the climax of the movie. Like the last 10, 20 minutes. It's probably the last 20 minutes on to the last 5 or 10. This guy's a fucking moron. Have I said that enough yet? That's where the bad part of this is that this guy actually thinks this is going to work. That he doesn't know shit about shit. And that, honestly, she knows a little bit about a little bit. But he won't consult her. He won't talk to her. He won't listen to her because she's been communicating pretty heavily at this point. This is what the conversation at the beginning was supposed to be, where they're talking about people not communicating to each other. Alyssa's to the point where she's the air traffic controller. She's like, "Come on, go right there. Oh yeah, that's a relationship." And like, she's trying, and like Holden's just not listening to her, and I don't get it. But like obviously it's written from his experiences, etc., etc. So despite Alyssa repeatedly telling him not to do it, like in order to solve all their problems, like not only does he kiss Banky to try to like snap him into things, he suggests that they all have a three-way, and I don't understand how in his brain all this pieced together, because it was probably still the two of them doing Alyssa because that's where he's at, where in reality it would be the two of them doing him. It'd be Banky and Alyssa both focusing on Holden, and for homophobic people like that, it's not what they want. I'm not homophobic, but it's not really what I want out of a three-way, because those things don't interest me. But by all means, enjoy. If it is, I just think know what you want, or at least think you know what you want. Where it's like, I don't even think he was thinking. He was just like, it's the only way. And he said that a couple times, and I just didn't understand why that character would think that. He's a smart enough character, but I guess living the charmed life that he and Banky have had thus far, like, addled his brain a little bit. I'm not saying artists don't work hard. I'm not saying people who run their own business doing comics don't work hard. I'm saying, like, you get a lot of freedom and power in your own life, and maybe it goes to your head. I know power in general goes to your head. And then on top of it, she's telling him exactly that he's exactly what she wants, and he's changing that, and he's changing that to try to match her. And she's like, "No, I don't want that." And maybe that comes from like an over masculine perception of wanting to be alpha. It's like, no, just let her be the one that has the more experience. Call her daddy. I don't give a fuck. Just it's okay. It's not wrong. In some relationships, it's one way. In some relationships, it's the other. Neither one's wrong. It's just dumb that like you're like man, woman, man. It's like it's just caveman bullshit. And that's where a lot of this stems from. But and she lays out all the weird possibilities that could happen that he never thought of because he's an idiot. And then she does two very special things. Not only does she tell him she loves him again, but she hugs him goodbye. And she slaps the shit out of him. And she tells Banky that he's his again. Oh yeah, because she's not his fucking whore. So the hug and slap were the two things I was talking about. I thought it was really special. And it's great to have great dialogue, but like moments of action, even especially in movies, like will be iconic. Like that's what I'm going to remember. I'm going to picture them hugging, and them separating, and the look in her face. Not necessarily the words she was saying, because I know what the words are supposed to mean from the face, and then the slap happening, and the look of shock on both their faces. I really think she was surprised she did it, even like in real life. Joey Lauren Adams was surprised. And then we kind of hit the prologue where like they kind of do that thing where like 2 years later, and Banky's signing stuff, and it's the same Ethan Suplee, the same big guy from the beginning of the movie, talking to him about bullshit and how he draws farts, and like Holden shows up, but like he doesn't go over and talk to Banky. Like I the only thing I can think of is like that's supposed to represent the choice that Holden makes to like wish Banky well, but no longer wish to be involved in his life. Maybe even for Banky's sake, which I don't even know if Banky necessarily is gay, but he was a straight man in love with a guy, at least. So who knows? And then he actually approaches Alyssa and gives her a copy of the comic book Chasing Amy. I skipped over the whole part where Jay and Silent Bob were hanging out, because he has to pay Jay and Silent Bob their likeness rights. And Bob goes on to this whole story about how he's chasing Amy. Long story short, Bob went through a thing like this once upon a time where he just hurt her and drove her away, and he's trying to get Holden not to do the same thing, and Holden exactly did the same thing. Not the same thing, but he did it in a different way. And in real life, Kevin talks about that being a story about like how he was upset that like a girlfriend of his had more experience with him than with girls than he did, and how he fucked that up. And then I just want to talk about this end scene a little bit because it's cool. Alyssa's sitting there with his girlfriend. Holden comes up, gives her a copy of Chasing Amy. Not for her to sign, but for her to keep, because he saved her a copy. Comic books do limited runs, so he had to save one because it didn't do that well. Or at least the first issue. I guess it was a graphic novel. I don't know. It's hard to tell for that day and age. But they have this like really heavy conversation, and then afterwards there's this really fun visual of Holden leaving the table and walking through the door. Again, it's the visuals that I'm going to remember. It's not necessarily the dialogue for these really powerful moments, where he walks to the door and he leaves. He's leaving Alyssa behind, and he's moving through a door to his future, and he's left Banky behind. And he gave one last nod to her to show, like, hey, this is my story. I said something personal, and it's done. And he kind of leaves the ball in her court. There could be a Chasing Amy 2 one day, but for the love of God, if he calls it Chasing Amy 2 Electric Boogaloo, I'm going to lose my mind. And then she takes the comic book and literally takes it and puts it aside. She puts it opposite her girlfriend, almost hiding it, to kind of shove more of her past away, which is kind of counterintuitive to what the adventure is, because her girlfriend is there specifically to see this aspect of her life. So the biggest possible thing that could have happened, she hides from her, which is interesting, but it's literally her putting her past away so that she can turn and talk to her future, which is her current girlfriend, and focus on her comic and her fans. It's funny that the line didn't move at fucking all when the girlfriend went to go get water, which is actually funny to me. And maybe subconsciously, Alyssa saw Holden and sent her away to go do that. So it's a really touching movie. It's really good. It's really powerful. I can't say that it's good, but it's definitely one of his best, and it's definitely really strong. Honestly, I'd probably say like this and Red State are probably in his top 3. I'm trying to think what else I would put up there in his movies. I'm proud to have watched and talked about this, but I can understand why the majority of America wouldn't get behind this one as a good or best movie or whatnot. So we're happy to have him over here in Bad Movie Club, even if it's undeserving, as far as I'm concerned. This would actually be a good one to watch with a bunch of I could never remember all the letters correctly. LGBTQAZ plus people, just to see what they think about a movie from the 90s that were saying stuff like this, just because they'll have a more varied perspective than me. But that's pretty much all I got to say about this. Thanks, Kevin, for making movies. We likes them. I think next week we're going to do Dogma. I think definitely the week after that we're going to do Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Then we'll have to take a pause and see where we go from there, because I think it would make sense to put Tusk on Scary Movie Squad, and then maybe we could do Yoga Hosers, so we'll have to find something to fill that gap. Or we just do Tusk on here. I don't give a fuck. Really. Because he talks about it enough. No, you don't play with the green screen like that, kitty. Alright, I'm going to go deal with that. So until you see me next time, I'm Cameron, and this has been #WeAreMovieClub. Bad Movie Club. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.